Hi everyone, I'm back again today. I want to talk a little bit more about mental illness and why I say I feel like that, in my opinion, that Meghan may have a narcissistic personality disorder. And I want to share with you a few of other people in Hollywood or famous people that you might be surprised who suffer from it. And I don't say it because I'm putting them down or anything like that. That's something a person can't help. But I share it so that we have a better understanding of some of these conditions and to further explain why I feel that there's definitely a personality disorder within Meghan that causes her to do these impulsive, irrational, grandiose things that she does. So stick with me till the end, and I'll try to get through it as quickly as I can. And if you hear someone sniffling in the background, that's one of my little Yorkies. We have three, and he's the one that sits next to me all the time. Sometimes you'll hear him sneeze or cough, and he's 17 years old, so he does have some medical conditions, and one of the things is his congestive heart condition. So whenever I'm here, he stays right next to me and is pretty much a lap dog. But I adore him, and and spend a lot of time. We love animals. We're big animal lovers in our home. All right, let's go ahead and get started with the disclaimer. The title: Learn the Connection with Mental Illness and Personality Disorders in Hollywood. Full disclaimer can be found down below in the description box. And thank you all for joining me. If you're new to my channel, I appreciate your joining in today. And we talk a lot about Meghan Markle mostly, but sometimes other members of the royal family. So one little tidbit that came out a little while ago, and this doesn't relate to what we just talked about, but Pharrell Williams has listed one of his homes in Beverly Hills, and it's kind of a glass-looking home all the way around. And this was one he had purchased 2 years ago from Tyler Perry, but he has it on the market for sale. And one of the articles was saying that Meghan and Harry were eyeing it. These are just some pictures of it, and it was in Architectural Digest. But and then there's a video of the full home tour. But in Micky, which I've never heard of this paper, said Meghan Markle, Prince Harry's shock is couple buying Pharrell Williams mansion. I have no idea. Sometimes I wonder if they have any money at all. It says Meghan Markle and Prince Harry are reportedly eyeing to buy Pharrell Williams mansion in Los Angeles, California. Now, let's go on, because I don't know if that's true or not true. And remember how when all of a sudden she was buying Mel Gibson's house, and then it was somebody else's house. So I think that's, take that with a grain of salt. Prince Charles plans to dampen the royal sense of entitlement as he prepares to become king. And what he's saying is that he wants to reshape the royal family into an institution more suitable for the 21st century. Prince Charles wants to follow the example of his European counterparts and modernize the institution of the monarchy to the point where the privilege of being a senior member of the royal family will be balanced out by a number of responsibilities, a royal expert said. Nigel Cawthorne, author of Prince Andrew, Epstein, and the Palace. And there's just a picture of Charles and Her Majesty. And that looked like one of the previous prime ministers. Being born as a Windsor is a privilege, but it doesn't mean that being a certain number in line to the throne means an entitlement to housing or other perks of the firm. Furthermore, Prince Charles would feel that such privilege comes with great responsibility. Said the author, pointed out that the slimmed-down monarchy foreseen by Prince Charles would also be beneficial to those members of the royal family who happen to be born within the House of Windsor but don't want to live a life under the spotlight. So, and what are we doing? He's making some changes within this, and it's kind of setting up for a time like, it seems like they're pointed toward Meghan and Harry. All right, it says that Prince Charles is believed to have been planning to reduce the number of full-time working royals and possibly strip those who do not or don't represent the crown of their HRH styles for years. So I imagine that means Andrew is gone, Harry and Meghan have gone, and so it says that back in 2012, Prince Andrew was upset because he feared his daughters, Princess Eugenie and Princess Beatrice, would lose their title as they do have their own careers and aren't full-time working royals. And it just says, while the extended family usually attends key events. All right, so let's see. The website of the royal family says that there's 2,000 royal engagements every year throughout the world. It won't be hard at all to cover all these with a lower number of HRHs than there are now, whatever their age, if one but considers what the Queen and Prince Philip achieved and the Queen continues to do. Then we see on news.com in AU, Prince Harry and Meghan Markle struggling to cope with New York life in LA. Again, we don't know. Meghan Markle has gone worryingly quiet and is struggling to cope, a relative has claimed. Now she's got a relative. Well, the only relative she speaks to is her mom, Doria, right? So as now, that's why she's got more Doria living with her, so she can call these publications and get her story out. Who knows? The Duchess of Sussex, 38, is said to be struggling, and her and Prince Harry's royal rift is played out in a legal battle, reports The Sun. I imagine she is. I really don't think there's a chance for her to win this court case. And it just said that, especially on Prince William's birthday, that Prince Harry was really missing his brother and the bond they have between them. I don't know what kind of game she's playing, but it's a sick, pathetic game. It's like she's trying to keep one foot in, and on the other hand, she's trying to slam the door in their face. I was just curious how much they're worth now, and it says now they feel that they're worth on Google about $30 million, that maybe Meghan's $5 million and Harry $25. So maybe they don't have enough to buy a house and sustain themselves, that they're waiting on money to come in. And maybe they don't have that. How are they paying all these other agencies and PR firms that supposedly, and the staff that's working for them, unless it's all coming from the money that Charles is giving them? But I'm not sure if they have the money to buy a house. And you know, it was said recently that Harry was ordered to fly home to meet with his grandfather, and that he was there for like a day and then flew back. So what did they say? I feel like that they may have said that they would like for Meghan to just kind of disappear, but Harry could stay with her, but, you know, maybe strip them of all their titles, because they're really doing a lot of damage to them right now. All right. Now, let's get into the mental illness part. So even Harper's Bazaar wrote an article that said, and this was back in 2018, 39 celebrities who have opened up about their mental illness. And I'm not going to list every one of them, but just a few. So you might be surprised that Mariah Carey was diagnosed with bipolar disorder. She was it said that she was living in denial and isolation. She was going through some depression, but after she sought treatment, she was diagnosed as being bipolar. And then you've got Mel here. I'm not going to say the last names because YouTube will probably, say it's not within their guidelines, but you can see, and it said in a 2008 documentary that Mel had was diagnosed with bipolar disorder, and we had heard about some of the manic and crazy things that he's done throughout his career. And then Demi Lovato, you might be surprised that she also, I know that she's battled with self-destruction, self-harm, and drug addiction, and she also has a bipolar disorder. And I know if you guys remember Russell, and he was married to Katy Perry, and he was also diagnosed with bipolar disorder. Kurt Cobain, one of the singers, and he was diagnosed with bipolar disorder, and he didn't pursue his treatment, and they can do that with therapy and medication, but and he suffered with depression, but he can, did himself in back in 1994. Trying to be careful the words I use. And you might be surprised that Ernest Hemingway, Nobel Prize winning author, was prone to manic depressive behavior throughout his life, and it was a trait that he shared with his parents, his son, and his granddaughter Margot, despite his larger-than-life personality and the novels that he wrote, like Farewell to Arms and For Whom the Bell Tolls. I mean, he was just a brilliant writer. And you guys know Ted Turner. He is the owner of CNN in Atlanta, Georgia, and he was also married to Jane Fonda. It said that he also has suffered and battled with bipolar disorder and depression. You guys know Michael Douglas. His wife, Catherine Zeta-Jones, was diagnosed after he was battling, I think, tongue cancer, and she was going through some depression, and she was seeking treatment for her depression, and she ended up being diagnosed with bipolar disorder. So many people do go without a proper diagnosis or for a long time. So Vivian Leigh, everybody knows the epic book and movie Gone with the Wind, and she played Scarlett O'Hara in this movie. Vivian Mary Hartley in England. Lee's greatest fame came from her iconic portrayal of Scarlett in Gone with the Wind. And she was the wife of acclaimed actor Laurence Olivier Lee, and had a reputation for being very difficult on the set for much of her adult life. And she had suffered severe depression and mania. And the treatment that they gave her back in the day was a electroshock treatment. And I think it's been proven that that really doesn't help. I think it just kind of numbs your senses and takes away from your personality. Here's a shocker, and I didn't know this until I looked this one up. But also, Winston Churchill, he suffered from bipolar disorder, and it said that he battled his own war against depression, suicidal thoughts, and lack of sleep, and he called it the Black Dog. But despite his condition, he authored 43 books, earned a Nobel Peace Prize in literature, and he also suffered from bipolar depression. All right. This is the one that I feel like, just in my opinion, I don't have any proof of this, and I'm not a doctor, that Meghan suffers from narcissistic personality disorder. And I just wanted to familiarize you with this a little bit. But here are some other people who suffer from it. And I want you to think about what you know about them and their careers. Jenny McCarthy, actress and former Playboy bunny, and she also was one of the hosts on The View. And Madonna, the pop star, you all know her, and she's done some crazy things even through the pandemic. She's done some crazy things. Suzanne Summers, who was on Three's Company, and then she writes a lot of books and has developed some exercise equipment. But guys, I didn't know this. Oprah Winfrey, and said that SAD didn't offer any examples of the talk show's diva's narcissistic behavior, and claims, most likely because almost everything she does serves as an example of excessive self-importance and grandiosity. Read this article, and you can go on to do that if you like. But it says that they think because of what she went through in her life, he speculates that the majority of celebrities pursue life in the spotlight when they have this condition because the outcomes they hope for rather than any sort of love of the arts. In short, that they do it specifically as a means to an end, with the end being fame, money, and public adoration. And that's why, I feel like many of us always say that it's me, Meghan, and it's all about herself, and she doesn't care about anybody else. And that's what I think. I think the love is a codependency thing, but really it's about fame, money, and public adoration. It also says that other celebrities like Tom Cruise, Justin Bieber, the Kardashians were also narcissists before they even became famous. And it says the reason and the expert background definitely give a more authoritative air to the common flippant assumptions that celebrities and narcissism. Our society appears to be evolving into one where an increasing number of everyday citizens exhibit narcissistic traits, a disturbing trend fueled by selfie culture and the me first mindset. So, and this was just some of the treatment and stuff, but with a narcissistic personality disorder, you really have to seek therapy because as of today, there's no medication for this, but it said most people are in denial that they don't accept the diagnosis when they receive it and won't continue with treatment, but there is no medication for it. There are medications for other symptoms that they may suffer. There's 3 different levels. There's the mild impairment, there's the moderate impairment, and the severe. And people with NPD results in severe impairment may require hospitalization, and it just says that allows treatment for narcissistic personality disorder to focus on the immediate crisis, suicidal behavior, some with a complete lack of impulse control. And I feel like Meghan has impulse control issues because so many times she's reactionary and will just go and react to a situation. And but anyway, let's go on. Again, there's no medications for it, but instead they prescribe medication to address any co-occurring mental disorders such as depression or obsessive compulsive disorders. So, and then I just thought you guys might be interested in some of the celebrities who suffer from schizophrenia. Zelda Fitzgerald, she was married to F. Scott Fitzgerald, and she was a socialite, and she had her own pursuits such as writing and painting. Peter Green, he was a former Fleetwood Mac guitarist, and he's discussed his experiences with schizophrenia publicly. Daryl Hammond. Now, I watched a documentary on him within the last 2 weeks, and I had read that he had said that he was thought he dealt with manic depression or bipolar, but here it says that actually what he dealt with and that he dealt with schizophrenia. Now, for all of you Saturday Night Live fans, you probably saw him playing politicians like John McCain, Donald Trump, Bill Clinton, but the public was surprised when he publicly discussed the very serious subjects of his mental health and abuse. And he went into detail in the documentary I watched about the abuse that his mother inflicted on him. He had a very tough childhood. And that's why I think sometimes with Meghan, being without her mother for many years, being bounced back and forth between the family, having the mother be jealous of the father calling Meghan Flower and giving her so much attention and saying that's the reason why she left her husband, and then just the way Meghan was brought up, I just think that leads to so many issues for children, especially if they don't seek therapy. Now, I'm sure everybody has watched the movie A Beautiful Mind about mathematician John Nash. He was a professor, and he was most famous, in the movie that was done about him, A Beautiful Mind. And it talks about Nash's experiences with schizophrenia, which is sometimes credited as fueling some of his greatest mathematical breakthroughs. This man was absolutely brilliant, but just about worked his mind to death and worked with government agencies in decoding for the military, but just pushed himself in the pursuit of coming up with new theories that his mind just broke. It was a wonderful movie, and if you haven't seen it, you should watch it. This is one I didn't know, but it doesn't surprise me. Guys, did you know that Joan Crawford, remember the movie Mommy Dearest about the Hollywood actress? It says that actress Joan Crawford's narcissistic abuse of her adopted daughter was dramatized in the book Mommy Dearest. I knew that woman was crazy, and I knew that she had a terrible childhood and grew up in severe poverty and was all about getting ahead, making something out of herself, and was very fixed on having money and using men to make money and sleeping with men and using men in Hollywood to get her acting roles. But anyway, it says that Crawford's need for attention as a narcissistic mother was said to have been at the expense of her family's relationships and providing her children with a healthy upbringing. And but that woman was insane. But so she was had narcissistic abuse. Guys, I didn't know Conway West. I didn't even think about him, but did you ever watch I think it was the Grammy speech where Taylor Swift was receiving an award, and then he went up as she was about to make her acceptance speech and humiliated her publicly, saying that she didn't deserve it and that somebody else deserved it. But it said that he has displayed narcissistic traits on many occasions. And who was he married to? Kim Kardashian. And guys, she's listed as well. It says, sure, we live in a world of social media, selfies, and reality TV shows, but Kanye West's wife, Kim Kardashian, is a queen of narcissistic type self-promotion. We know she's got to be doing selfies, but this was her rise to stardom. I mean, she was famous for not even being famous, but she did it through social media and posting things and getting their TV show and becoming a social media influencer. But she is addicted to this. If you watch Keeping Up with the Kardashians, you would know it. And again, it lists Mariah Carey here with the narcissistic traits and says how she has to always be the boss, and she's known for disrespecting other people's time, turning up late or not performing at all, and she has to have complete control over things. And again, we've got Madonna reinvent her image. And who else reinvents their image all the time and constantly has to have themselves out in the news, wants to be in the press? Guys, did you know Jim Jones, who was the cult leader, he also displayed narcissistic traits throughout his life and other personality disorders. So I just want us to to open our minds and to learn more about some of these. And guys, there's so many other actors and actresses out there. Do your own research, who suffer from numerous mental illnesses and personality disorders. And I believe that's why Meghan, the way she grew up, suffers and has these traits and everything that she's been through with fighting so hard to find stardom, and then using people and men to climb up, and then feeling like it was about to slip away from her, and then needing another man, and just wanting to have that sense of security, and just wanting to be famous. That's it. So I want to thank you all for tuning in, and see you in the next video.